This is the Barricade HD Rear Bumper with LED fog lights, and it does fit all 2020 and newer Silverado HDs. Now the Barricade HD will be an appealing rear bumper option for the newer 2500 owners out there looking to switch out that factory rear bumper in favor of a burly steel aftermarket option, allowing for not only more protection but also more functionality as well, thanks to the inclusion of the LED cube lights and cutouts. Now the Barricade will offer a powder-coated steel design, does come pre-drilled for those factory backup sensors, and can be had all for right around that $1,000 price point. All right, big features here with the Barricade really does boil down to protection, functionality, and appearance. First things first, let's talk protection here because that is going to be increased due to that thick plate steel build we mentioned earlier. Definitely up to the task of handling some abuse both on and off-road. Second up, functionality. The heavy-duty option that we have here today will include things like the step ends here, along with the included 3-inch LED cube lights for extra lighting on the trail or just backing up at night on a dark road or parking lot. And then finally, appearance, right? I think we can all agree that these off-road style bumpers here, whether front or rear, really do help change up the entire attitude and appearance of the truck in general, and it does so in a pretty substantial way. And I think you can argue the same is true here for the Barricade. All right, moving into construction, and the Barricade is going to start out as a cold-formed 3mm plate steel build here before getting finished off in that 2-stage epoxy powder coat to keep that steel looking good for many years to come. And overall, I'd say that powder coat delivers a satin, slightly textured finish, definitely fitting of an HD truck. Now, moving to those cube lights, it does again include a pair of 3-inch LED cube lights. Those are going to produce a 6K color temperature thanks to the high-powered Cree LEDs that are loaded into the IP67 rated waterproof housing. Now, the bumper again does include cutouts for things like the backup sensors here, pre-drilled I should say, along with cutouts for your trailer plug and your license plate lights as well. I also really dig that this bumper does maintain the use of those end cutouts here for your footing. Definitely gonna make getting something out of the bed a much easier task without slipping. They do put some traction both there and in the license plate area as well. Finally, the Barricade does include all of your necessary brackets, hardware, and even some included wiring needed to get everything installed and up and running. Moving into price point here, and the Barricade HD will land you right around $1,000, give or take a little bit, which does put this, I would say, middle of the pack in regards to your aftermarket steel rear bumpers for your HD at home. Certainly going to fall in line with companies like Weston and Fortis for that matter, but certainly going to be a good bit less than the more premium options from companies like Addictive Desert Designs. Regardless, if you want a full breakdown of all of our bumper offerings for your HD at home, definitely check out the product page back at AmericanTrucks.com if you haven't done so already. Certainly have something for every budget available. All right, last but not least, now we want to shift gears and show you what it takes to get the Barricade installed on your 2500 at home. Site's going to call this a solid and heavy 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, taking you at least 2 hours or so to get everything installed from start to finish. Definitely not a bad idea to have an extra set of hands around to help you lift this thing into place while securing your brackets and your bolts. But now to give you a better idea of how this one might go down on your HD at home, let's throw it out to the shop for our detailed walkthrough and tool breakdown.
For this install, you will need various ratchets, various impacts, 3/8 to 1/2 inch adapter if necessary, 4mm Allen socket, 10, 13, 18, 19, and 21mm sockets, 10 and 18mm wrenches, a 14mm ratcheting wrench, and also not shown here is an extra set of hands.
What's up guys, today we're going to be installing a new rear bumper on our Silverado, so let's get started. So our first step to remove our bumper, we're going to remove our spare tire rod opening. Now usually you need your key for this. You want to open this up, put your key in, turn it, and release it. Ours is pretty worn out, so ours actually just comes right out. It still will do this with your key, so we'll set that aside and we'll come in and remove our tag. So now we're going to remove our tag. For ours, we're going to use our 10mm socket. Now, in case you have different screws, you can use a flathead or a Phillips head screwdriver, whatever your mounting screws call for. Set this aside. Next, we're going to remove our 2 support bolts right behind our tag. So for that, we'll grab our 13 mil socket. Next, we're going to need to unplug our trailer plug from our bumper. You have this gray tab here. You want to make sure that's pushed back like so. All you need to do is just pop it back. We're going to press in on our tab and we'll unplug that. Now we're going to come to the passenger side. We're going to unplug our tag light harness. Now you want to make sure this red tab, which is broken on ours, is pulled back just like the gray one on your trailer plug. And we'll press down and unplug that. You want to make sure you kind of tuck it so it's not going to get caught on your hitch. Next, we can remove our lower support bolts at the outer edge of our bumper on this rod. And we're going to use our 13 mil socket on our impact to get that off. Next, we can remove the nuts on the 2 mounting studs on our rear frame horn. So we're going to grab our 18 mil socket on our ratchet to do that. We'll do the same for this upper one. Once you have these 3 off, you can do the same thing for the other side. So now that we have all of our hardware off and our wiring unplugged, we can pull our bumper off. So now that we have our bumper off, we're also going to remove our side support brackets fully. This is held on by a 21 millimeter nut up at the top stud. We've got our 21 mil socket on our ratchet. We'll pop those off real quick. And once you have this one off, you can do the same thing for the other side. Alrighty guys, so now that we have everything off of the vehicle, a couple things we're going to need to do before we install our new bumper, one of which is to swap over our receiver plug as well as our tag light harness. Now, if you have a truck with rear parking sensors, you're also going to need to take that harness off to swap it over as well. We don't have that or blind spot monitors, so we don't need to worry about that. But again, if you do have those, you want to take those off and swap them over. So we'll start with our receiver plug. Now this is just held in by 2 tabs on the back side. We'll squeeze those in, pop that down, and then set that aside for our new bumper. We'll squeeze this in and pop that through. Next, we're going to remove our tag light harness. Now the tag lights themselves are held in by a 7 millimeter screw and a retainer clip. So we'll grab our 7 mil socket on our ratchet, remove those screws, and then we'll come in with a clip removal tool and remove all of the clips holding our harness in place. And you can do the same thing for your other one. And we'll get our tag bolt housings out. They just slide right out, like so. And remove all of our clips. Now we can remove our harness and set it aside. So now we've got our new bumper on the table and it's time to start putting everything on it so we can get it onto the truck. The first of which is going to be our factory hitch plug. It's going to go right into the open slot we have. We'll just set that in and get those clips to engage and we'll be good to go. We'll install our hitch plug. Put that in place. Then we can install our tag squares. They just pop right in. And since, again, we don't have parking sensors, we're going to just install our covers. Just pop right into place. And you can do the same thing for the outer too. Now we're going to install our factory tag light harness onto our new bumper. It has provisions for the same mounting points with new hardware. You want to make sure that your main plug is going to be on the passenger side just like it came off. So we'll get this in position and get our provided hardware in and mount our tag lights. So we're going to set our tag lights in, and this is just to get them in position. Sometimes they stay, sometimes they won't, and we'll get our provided bolts to go in there. So we'll get our tag light in, line it up with our threaded insert, get our provided 4 millimeter Allen head combo bolt in. We'll bring in our 4 millimeter Allen socket on our ratchet and tighten this down. And you can do the same thing for the other side. So next up, since we don't have our blind spot monitors or anything, we're going to add in our provided block off plates. So we're going to grab 4 of our provided 4 millimeter Allen head screws with lock washers and flat washers. We'll put this on, and on the back side of these we'll get flat washers and 10 millimeter nuts on those. Now once we have those on, we can tighten them down with our 4mm Allen socket and our 10mm wrench. Now once you have this side on, you can repeat the same process for the other side. Next, we're going to assemble our bracketry for our fog lights themselves. Now it comes with a main U-shaped bracket that's going to go into the assembly of the light. We're going to drop in our mounting nuts, then install our provided 5mm Allen head bolts to that bracket, while also installing a 13mm bolt to our main bracket that's going to mount it in place on the bumper. So we'll get our main mounting bolt in first. Makes things a lot easier. Then we're going to drop our first flange nut into the slot while putting our bracket in. We'll get our Allen head screws started. And we'll do the same thing for this side. Sometimes they don't go in right. Once you get them started, we can take our provided Allen wrench. We're going to snug these down. Now once you have this one assembled, you can do the same thing for the other side. Now we can install our fog light onto our bumper. Now notice this bumper is upside down, so you want to have it going in accordingly. There are 3 mounting slots to whichever placement you want your fog light to go. We're going to go right in the center. What we're going to do first is feed our connector through our mesh. It will fit directly through that hole, like so. We'll bring that back. We'll get our mounting bolt through the slot. Now we'll line our mounting bolt up with our slot. We'll get that through. Then we'll come around to the back side and install our flat washer, lock washer, and nut. We'll get our flat washer and lock washer in. There's a little bit of a tight space in here. We'll get our nut on. Then we'll come back with a 13mm ratchet wrench and snug that down. Now that we have our washers and nut on, we'll come in with our 14mm ratchet wrench and tighten this down. You may have to hold the nut at first, or the bolt rather. And once you have this side tight, you can do the same thing for the other side. So next we can install our mounting studs, or bolts rather. So we're gonna grab our provided mounting bolt with a flat washer. We're gonna send that through the inner stud from the inside out. Then we're gonna install a plastic retainer washer. These are just meant to hold it in place. They're not actual washers. So we'll get this through and get this on. It's a little bit of a tight fit. If you come in at an angle, you can pop that right through. We'll do the same thing for our, what is essentially our top mounting bolt, and then we'll do the same thing for the other side. All right, so now we're ready to install our bumper onto the truck. So I've got an extra set of hands because this thing is a little bit heavy. We're gonna line up those bolts we just installed with our factory mounting points. And on the back side of those, we'll get our flat washers and lock nuts on. All right, so now we're gonna come underneath our bumper and tighten down our mounting bolts. So we've got our 19mm socket on a ratchet and our 18mm open-ended wrench. You definitely need it open-ended because this is pretty tight getting to the heads of the bolts. Now this top one is gonna be a little tricky to get to, but you can get to it. Once you have this side tight, you can do the same thing for the other side. Now we'll plug in our tag light harness right back to where it was. Make sure that locks in, and if your safety tab is not broken, you want to push that back into place.
Now we're gonna plug our hitch receiver back in. Receiver plug rather. Make sure that snaps in, lock your tab back on. Now we can reinstall our spare tire guide rod cover. Again, with a key, you're gonna wanna keep this unlocked to put it back into place. Again, ours is kind of broken, but you wanna line it up with the guide rod that's back here, laying on your spare tire. Push that back into place. Then you wanna lock that back up. Now you can install your tag. Line that up with our squares. We'll get our screws started by hand. And we'll tighten ours back down with our 10mm socket. All right, so now that we have our bumper in place, it's time to install our wiring so we can activate our rear fog lights. We're gonna start up in the engine bay to get everything hooked up, and we'll run our connectors back to our rear bumper so we can plug those in. The first thing we're gonna do is remove the positive terminal cover on our battery so we can access that. Just got 2 tabs, you wanna pop those in, pull that up, set it aside for now. So now we'll pop our cover off, set that aside. Now we're gonna grab our positive connector on our harness, and you'll notice it has an inline fuse. We're gonna pull that fuse out for now to keep our circuit dead until we're ready to plug it in. So now that we've got our cover off, we're gonna come to our positive connector on our harness. You'll notice it has an inline fuse with a waterproof case. We're gonna pull that fuse for now. That's gonna keep the circuit dead until we plug everything in and we're ready to go. Pop the cover. Sometimes these are very stiff. Pull that fuse out. We'll set that right up here for now. And we can hook up our positive connector to our positive terminal. So we'll grab our 13mm socket on our ratchet, pop that nut off, get the terminal on, and put that nut right back on. So now we'll get our nut off. Install our positive connector. Reinstall that nut. Snug that back down. Now we're gonna hook up our negative connector. For that, we're gonna use our remote ground stud here. It's much more convenient than trying to get to the negative terminal on your battery. So again, with our 13mm socket, we'll pull this nut. Get our connector on. Reinstall our nut. We'll snug that back down. Once we have both wires connected, we can reinstall our positive terminal cover. Now, one thing to note is if you want a little bit more flush fitment, you can notch out a little section in your cover for that positive wire. For demonstration purposes, we're not going to notch ours, but if you want it that way, just cut a little section out so that wire can pass through. Next, we'll need to get our switch over to the driver's side so we can pass it through a grommet in our firewall to get it into the cab so we can turn it on and off when needed. We'll just take our switch wiring, kind of toss it over for now, then we'll go to the driver's side and get it through that grommet. All right, so now we're over on the driver's side. We're gonna locate this main grommet for our harness going through our firewall. Now it's held in by a plastic piece with tabs. All you have to do is push those tabs in and push the grommet back, and you can get enough room to push your switch through. Ours is already kind of pushed back. So now we'll get our switch through. It is going to be a little tight. Once you get it through, you want to feed a good bit of your wire through. Once you get that fed through, you can kind of pull your grommet back. Now we're in the cab and we're below our dash, right between our accelerator and brake pedal. Your switch should be hanging right in between there, so we'll reach in and grab that. Now this is an adhesive mounted switch, so you can pretty much mount it wherever you'd like. We're just going to mount ours right here next to our hood release latch. So we'll pull the cover off our adhesive and stick that in place. And the only thing you want to make sure of is that your wiring does not impede the function of your pedals, and make sure that everything is clear. Next thing we need to do is feed our connectors and wiring down through our engine bay so we can run it underneath the vehicle to the rear bumper. Now you have a nice spot between your frame rail and your inner fender liner that's next to your heater core and AC lines. So we're going to drop those down and then we'll bring those back to the rear of the vehicle. Now that we have that down there, we can grab them and drag it to the rear. Okay, so now we're underneath our truck, and your wiring should be right behind your fender liner. So you want to grab your connectors. Now, routing this along the underside of the vehicle, the easy way to keep everything out of the way and tucked is to go in between your body mounts and your chassis itself. Now, we'll show you what that looks like. I'm just going to get these fed through the first one. You have nice open spots where you know nothing's going to hit. And we'll just pull this gently along. Okay. Now, as you can see, this is what I was referencing, our body mounts. You have a nice open space between here to feed your wiring through. We'll make sure everything stays nice and straight. Then we'll do this along the side of our vehicle until we get to the rear of our vehicle. So now we've reached the rear of our vehicle. We're on the passenger side. We're going to plug our first fog light connector in. Then you want to send your longer connector over to the driver's side and do the same thing for that. And once you have this all plugged in, you can secure your harness however you'd like. You can use zip ties or whatever you have on hand or prefer. You just want to make sure your harness is out of the way of any moving or hot parts. So now that we have everything hooked up, we can come back and reinstall our fuse to activate our circuit. You want to make sure to reattach your cover. And we're good to go. Alrighty folks, that about wraps up our review and install of our Barricade HD Rear Bumper with LED fog lights for your 20 to current Silverado 2500 and 3500 HD. Thanks for watching, and as always, for everything Silverado, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.